busting on him earlier today around noon our time because I said, "What are you doing up, you vampire?" And he was like, "What? It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon." I'm like, "Yeah, it's still daylight."
All right, so let's wrap it up. So I will start with one of the stories, and I think what I will start on is the login screen. So I'll just tackle it, see how far I got, and then I'll just report that back to Shellee and see how she can continue on from there.
Okay, I'm confused. I thought that I'm trying to figure out what's what here. When you guys are talking about stories, are you talking about the thing under features or under task board or?
I mean,
so the features are epics. The term can be used interchangeably. Need to be broken up into user stories, right? So a feature is just that. It's like, I want to log in. Well, what does that mean? It means I have a login button. It means I have a password. It means I use social media logins. If so, which ones? All of those things are stories. Like, as a user, I want to be able to log in using my Facebook account. That's a story.
So you can think of epics are like big pictures, and stories are like the fine details of that.
It's not
picture.
really the fine details, just the broad strokes. You don't want to get too detailed. Yeah,
okay.
Broad strokes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, you don't want to get so detailed that you're basically telling somebody how to code in the story.
Oh yeah. No, not that, but
broad strokes.
Yeah,
it's as simple as what I just said. As a user, I want to be able to log in using my Facebook account. That's a story under the create account. Epic. Another story would be, as a user, I want to be able to log in using my Google account, right? Those could possibly be implemented very differently. And somebody can take the story to implement the Facebook login, and someone can take a story to implement the Google login. But it's not telling you how to implement it. It's just what you need to do.
So it's basically detailed that is not at the code level, right?
Yeah, not at the code level.
I got an idea. With the donate blood, 2 main points. Number one, you should be able to access the donate blood button or tab without logging in or creating any user account, because we want people to still give blood even if they don't want to create an account, right?
Right. That's a donor. Right. As a donor, I want to be able to donate blood.
Logging in. I don't even have to give you any info.
So,
I just go straight to it. And then, how do I use it? I want to put in my zip code and hit a button. That's it.
We have to send your zip code. You could have your location services determine where you are.
Well, that's a part. But maybe I'm not. Maybe I need to do it for someone else.
That's all in story grooming. What exactly are you doing? Not how you're doing, but what are you doing, right?
Right. Well, I'm just thinking that you put in a zip code, you hit a button, it pulls up a map with possibilities. User gets happy. Done.
And the question then becomes: Are you limited to specific blood donation centers? Right. I don't know that question. That's a question you'll have to ask your friend.
That's an interesting one too.
Yeah.
Because the map function would
another concern I was thinking of for the donation of money, if we're going to be using a way, let's say you click a button and it takes you off to a web service like we were talking about yesterday, right? Not doing it actually in app. There would have to be a way to track those donations, even though we're not getting that information. Meaning that information is done through whatever web service he's using. We have to figure out a way in the app to track it.
So that's why I said we use Firebase to do that.
But I don't think Firebase does payments. We have to look into it. But that's something we have to keep in mind.
Or maybe PayPal or something.
And which one of the donation services? I showed Brandon a couple. I actually brought this project to my boss and my mentor at work, and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm working on personally, because it's part of our career growth that we need to be working on outside projects, and we're all geeks anyway, so we'd love to share things that we're working on. And I'm privileged to work with a bunch of people who are like really big with donation, and he like within 5 seconds, sent me a list of maybe 4 different websites to help you track a campaign.
You talking about like a GoFundMe?
GoFundMe, just Giving was one of them. Greater Good is another one. There was a bunch of them that he sent.
What I'm wondering is, any of those should have some type of an API that developers.
Yeah.
Just Giving has an API. I think we saw that earlier, right, Brendan? Just Giving.
Yeah,
Yes.
we need to look into that then, especially.
And he has to speak to his friend to see if they need to use any specific.
Yeah, we also need to know what channels he's using. So I'll get in touch with Ryan.
Yeah.
I was just going to say you're taking notes, but yes, you're taking notes.
Yeah, by the way, we talked earlier, he's the official technical product owner, so he's going to interface with his friend to answer questions like this for us.
Now, I don't really consider that pen to be a technical product that he's owning there.
Yeah. That was high tech back in the day.
Brendan, with your wife and the baby, is that the Christmas tree?
Oh yeah, we just it's still up. It's every day Christmas for us.
Oh gosh, my best friend, she doesn't take hers down until June. Like, why bother?
Why bother? Yeah.
Up. Yeah. Like, it's still up in June. Why bother? Oh, it makes me happy, so I keep it up. I'm like, well, why bother taking it down? Because each year they decorate it differently. That's the only reason why she takes it
off the back deck that we'll see their lights in their sliding glass door July, August.
Yeah. I was like, that's real special. It's June and you still have a Christmas tree.
Special is one of those words that can be taken so many ways.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, guys. So when we meet tomorrow, I will have from you guys some idea of what stories you want to try and tackle to break down, right?
Yeah.
And then very last thing before we go, because I really am trying to get some sleep tonight, I was thinking once we have a good set of stories groomed, we do a hackathon.
Yes.
So I think that is
really interesting.
Yeah, I think that, well, first of all, it's a good experience. Like,
yes.
You would be amazed what you come out of a hackathon having learned or experienced. Yeah. And 2, I think that it will give us the opportunity to just jumpstart development.
Yes.
Typically, as I was explaining, have any of you guys actually participated in a hackathon before?
Never.
So it is exactly what it sounds like. It's a coding marathon, hackathon, right? And you set a block of time. Generally, that block of time is a contiguous block of time. So like 12 to even 24 hours. And you code straight through.
Wow.
I've seen some people, like, amazing applications come out of hackathons, just amazing. But
do you think we can come up with the MVP from the hackathon?
You have dedicated developers that have a clear vision. You can come up with anything out of a hackathon. I mean, I saw like fully vetted applications out of our last hackathon at work, and I'm like, we didn't even have an idea about what we were doing when we started. We spent 2 hours talking about it. No, they had a plan, and they knew what they were developing, and wow. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't even get the UI finished in our time, but
I've got a YouTube video of an entire app being done in 40 minutes.
Yeah, I would say that, let's start thinking about that as an option to jumpstart the development, see if we can get an MPV. I definitely think if we scale back the what stories we're going to try to tackle for MPV, we can get that one campaign, one user, one campaigner, donor section done in a hackathon. But again, you guys got to be committed to it.
But before we do the hackathon, we want to get the stories finished, right?
Yeah, you do, because I felt like our hackathon was a fail because we spent so much time talking about what it was we were going to do, and then what technologies we were going to use, and then how we were going to use those technologies. We scaffolded for a good 2 hours. And then we had
used to code.
Yeah, and then we had two developers come in and just listen. And I'm like, are you guys going to do anything? No, we're just listening. I'm like, okay. So
then if we're going to do the hackathon thing, I think we need more developers on the team. Don't you think,
I honestly think as many people as we can get for the hackathon, the better. And the good thing about it is if we have the stories already groomed, right, we can bring in somebody who doesn't even know what we're doing, but we already know.
Oh,
we
yeah.
know.
Yeah, that's true.
We can just start assigning stories.
Yeah, I agree.
And one important thing from my experience with volunteer groups, though, when you go out looking for volunteers, your volunteers are going to show up and the first words out of their mouth are going to be, what do you want me to do?
Yep.
And if your response is, I don't know, I didn't know you were coming. Let me look around and see if I can find.
No, we're going to be prepared.
No, we're going to. I want to have the story. The agile.
Have jobs set up for.
Have our task board already groomed, and then we know what we have to do.
Okay, so this is what's going to happen next. So we're going to get the epics down to the stories, and then we're going to let Shellee just oversee all of those. And then we, after grooming all of those, we start the marathon. And by that time, during that time, I'll get as many people involved as possible through chat, forum, whatever.
Yep.
Okay, sounds good.
We can start once we get to a place that we think we're close. I would start organizing the hackathon. Like pick a weekend, pick a day on a weekend. I would suggest a Saturday because I always need time to recover after a hackathon. It's a lot of takes a lot of mental stress to go through 12 hours of or 18 hours, or heaven forbid, 24 hours of nonstop coding. The last one for me was 24 hours and I was up the entire night. Yep.
How can you code in the 24 hour? Like,
oh, you can. After like hours.
After like 6 hours.
10, you're like, but then you get a second win about hour 16 and then you can keep going. For me.
One of the things we used to do with problem solving in the Navy when there were massive failures and it took multiple technicians working on stuff, you rotate.
Yeah.
I've been on for 3 hours. I'm going to go take a shower. You take over this file.
Yeah, we can definitely.
Good point.
Well, yeah, we can definitely rotate. I was just the one per constant. I had people coming in and out, but I was the one person that stayed through the whole one. And they were like, "What are we working on?" So, and I'll probably do that for this one as well. I can be the traffic cop. Like, okay, this is what we are working on. Can you take this one?
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. So this is all recorded. I will upload these on the YouTube channel, and I'll show you like.
Oh man, you guys have me on YouTube. I should know that.
Right, don't worry. I got zero
subscribers. So tired. Like
I got zero subscribers.
I would have done something with my hair.
Yeah.
I would have done the same thing with my hair, but at least I wouldn't have been like,
you're fine. You're fine. Okay. I have 0 subscribers, by the way, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
All right, cool. So we're going to meet tomorrow again, just 15 minutes.
Yeah,
15 minutes.
Yeah, we can just do a quick 15 minutes. All I really want to know from everybody is what story you want to pick and when can you work on it so I can be available to help. That's all.
Yeah. Now, when you're talking, the terms are throwing me here. Define epic, define a story, define MPV.
Okay, MPV is most, do you guys, everybody want to hear this, or can I just do a breakout session with Scott?
I want to be part of it.
I mean, I can.
Okay, so an MPV is a minimum viable product.
Okay.
It is just the dead simplest thing you need.
Bare bones.
Yeah, so it's okay.
Bare bones. It's bare bones with not even a scrap of meat left on it, right? It's like the dry crusting, like bones, okay? And so a user story expresses functionality, right? A epic or a feature is exactly what that sounds like. It's expressing a feature. So you need a login feature, right? You'll have many stories describing that login feature, right?
Okay, so donate blood is an epic. 2 words.
It's definitely an epic. Yep, that is an epic because there's a lot of steps going into the donate, a lot of functionality going into the donate blood. There's a button, there's a map, there's location service, or there's entering your zip code. There might be integration with Google Maps, which is what I would recommend. There might be some way to identify particular donation centers each one of those things that I've described can be a story.
Yeah.
And then once you have a story, you have the task. The story is the what, the tasks are the how, right? I'm not asking anybody to track their tasks because I really don't care about the how.
So the task would be the code level, right?
It would be the code level. Yeah, like
Got
create this button this size on that screen.
Okay, so you got Epic, you got your stories, and you got your task, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And the board, the task board actually reflects them with that hierarchy, or should.
Yeah.
You see that.
So your mock-up is considered what? Part of a story?
That is definitely, actually creating the mock-up is a story.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So you would define your mock-up
UI is the
from
epic.
your stories.
Mm-hmm.
So you would actually define your mock-up, like how one activity goes to another activity. That will be part of the story, right?
Yep.
And that will be part of the
For example,
task.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me give you a good example of how I storyboarded my activity for selecting a storyboard, right? So I had a select a storyboard, set up a storyboard. That was my epic, right? I had 3 stories in this and set up a storyboard. It was select a Scrum board software, create a team, and send invites. Now I've done this, right? That part is done. I created the team, right? We know we have this team, right? That part is done. And you want to move them from to-dos to in progress to done. But and then send out invites. Well, I know I'm partially done with this one, right? And I probably won't be done with this one for a while, but I'm going to call it done once I get all the initial people set up. And then as more people come in, I'll just make a task for that. But that would be a story. Now, those are stories. The task itself to create the Scrum team is like, go here, go to manage teams, add new team, click create. That would be the task, right? So that would be, you see this as this create Scrum board is the epic. Create Scrum team or set up Scrum board is the epic. The task create Scrum team is a user story. I'm using terms. I'm sorry. The user story create Scrum team is a user story, and then under that user story would be a task to actually click through this menu, enter this name, and click create. So that would be the separation between epic, story, task. Does that make sense, or do I need to explain it the right way?
That's fine. I just can't figure out why I can see some of the things on this board and not others.
What can't you see?
I only see one thing in the to-dos, which is identify all application features. And I don't see either one of the other two, and I don't see anything under identify MVP. That's empty, that whole row.
Okay.
Now, when you grabbed one of those and moved it, it suddenly appeared, like send invites.
Mm-hmm.
I did not, or I'm sorry, no, create Scrum team. I didn't see that at all. And then you dragged it and something appeared on my screen instantly.
Oh, that's weird. That's weird. Does anybody else have a problem seeing the
I'm still trying to navigate myself around, so
okay.
Yeah, but
so
yeah.
I'm on the task board, right? That's where I'm on right now, the task board. There's also the features, which shows the epics that haven't been put on the task board because haven't been accepted yet, and they're not in this sprint, right? They're not in sprint number 1. Sprint number 1 was simply this issue of setting up the tooling, and then getting all of the application features together. We still need to do that. I want to make sure we don't.
I'm in the dashboard where I can see the project burn up. So I'm in the dashboard at the moment. So where do I go to see this screen?
So you're here.
Yeah.
Then right next to it should be a backlog, a planning, a task board.
I don't have task board.
You don't have taskboard?
Yeah. All I have is dashboard, backlog,
Okay.
and features.
Let me make sure. Oh, here. You don't necessarily shouldn't have to be the Scrum Master, but I'm making everybody the Scrum Master just because. Log out and log back in and see if that showed you anything different.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Here, let me.
So,
Sorry.
identify MPV breakdown into stories. Okay.
Sorry, I just changed the project ID.
That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little weird because it happened for me on
Okay.
the website.
So, Shellee, I double-clicked on the breakdown MVP epics into user stories. So that thing, is that an epic?
That's a story. That's an epic itself. So what are we going to do? Yeah. What are we going to do? And that was more, no, I'm sorry. Let me say that again. That is a story. The epic is identify MVP. So in this epic,
oh, got it.
And it may not, I might not have described this properly, but there were two stories. There was the meet with the product owner to discuss features for the MVP, and then the break down the MVP into user stories, right? So that's a story in and of itself to break down the user story, the epics into user stories. And when I'm the MVP epics, when I'm the MVP epics, I mean these here. We need to break these down into So we would put this on a different Scrum, in a different sprint, and start adding adding stories to them. So you would see on the next task board, you would see right here would say create user account, and then you would have different stories for creating user accounts.
Right. So if I say, for example, so right now I can see we have 5 epics, right? So if I look at the first one, let's say features, and I go to create user account. So that's one epic, right?
That's one epic. Yep.
Yes. So so from here, where do I create my story? How do you
get stories from here?
Yeah.
And before that, when you take an epic to do that, do you turn an epic into its own sprint? Is that what a sprint is?
Well, no, a sprint is generally a collection of stories. You can have an epic can be across many sprints. A sprint is just a time block, right? That's all a sprint is, a time block. Okay. And in the industry, usually sprints can be 7, 14, or 21-day blocks, right? It's the time in which you say you're going to be done with the work that you've committed in that time frame, right? So if I take 4 stories off the board and put it in sprint number 1, and sprint number 1 is 7 days, I'm saying that I'm going to be done with those 4 stories in 7 days, right? For here, this task board sprint number 1, only because I couldn't make a sprint 0. Generally, this type of stuff that's on this board is a sprint 0 type stuff, tooling and stuff like that. But anyway, I only made this sprint a mini sprint. It's only 2 days long because I didn't think it should take that long to set up the Scrum board, identify the features, and then break down the features into this last story here. I was going to carry it over to the next sprint because that might take longer than a couple of days. But the rest of this, I fully anticipate having the rest of this stuff done by tomorrow. Like I'll have all the invites done. I'll have, hopefully we can tomorrow talk about all the features of the applications, all those good ideas we had that I don't actually remember because I was focused on MPV. If we can get those captured at least on a list somewhere on the backlog, then I'm happy. If you guys want to wait on those extra features and do another session where we capture those after we get these done, that's acceptable too. We don't have to do that, in which case I would move this to done already, right?
Mm-hmm.
Notice how it's assigning it to me as soon as I move it. That's awesome. Sorry, the software at work doesn't do that. You have to go through a lot of screens to assign a story to yourself.
Cool. So,
but yeah, a sprint is just a block of time. And I think this sprint was only, if you can see, is from the 21st to the 23rd. Because I anticipate closing this and opening a different sprint starting Saturday.
right. Hey, Shellee, can I just quickly share my screen?
Sure. I really wish this had a mobile app. I love the fact that I was like literally in bed when your first comment came, and I was like, okay, I'll take care of it.
But Scrum doesn't have a mobile app?
iceScrum does not have a mobile app. No, U-Track did, but it's not as nice of a tooling, I don't think. The UI is not as nice.
Can you see my?
Yep.
Okay, so let's say if I want to work on this.
Yeah, if you want to add that to a sprint, right?
Right.
Or you want to add more stories to it. So let's see. There is a way to add stories. I think either you create stories and attach them to the feature, or you hold on. Full disclosure here, this app is new for me too, so I have to figure out where that feature is. Oh, that's you moving your mouse. Hold on. Let me get over here on my board. Okay, so I'm in the features, and then how did I do this? We already have that, create the epic story. And then I think you have to assign it. This is just kind of like project management brouhaha. You have to assign it a business value before you can actually assign it to a
business value.
Yeah, it has to have a business value, and it has to have something else. I'm trying to remember what else it had to have. If I go to the story, yeah, it has to have a business value before it could be accepted, and then it will be moved to do. So
where do I actually type out my stories?
That's where we're getting at. I'm sorry for the hold on. Planning. Oh, that's the backlog. Planning. Is this it? No. Oh, okay. Can I show you my screen?
Sure.
If you go to planning.
Sure. Let me just.
Okay. And maybe I'll just do this for all of the stories that we already have. But if you go to planning, then you can pull in something from the backlog, right? We have these on the backlog here, so I can select this. Wait a minute. Yeah, select this is accepted. And then, hold on. You have to assign an effort, and I really don't care about this. This is just estimation. I don't care that whether you estimate or not. Just give it a value because it just needs one. And then once it's estimated, you have to also give it a value. Sorry, we'll get there. Come on. Story value. We want this to move to planned, then in progress, basically. So, no. Hold on. I have a lot of YouTube notifications here. Let me get rid of them.
Okay, how about this? Shellee,
yeah, the value, there we go.
Okay.
Give it a value, and then now you can move it to a sprint. Can you move it to a sprint? But anyway, I will figure out how I move those to a sprint. Once you move them to a sprint, like say to sprint 1, then you can start adding stories to it. Like for example, on the ones that we have that's already in sprint 1, I think all I did was, oh goodness. So I went to the task board and I started adding new tasks. And that's how I was able to do that. But let me figure that one out.
Okay. So
in a way that makes it
um,
easy for me to instruct.
yeah. I think we need to have another session just on how to use this because
Yeah,
it's
that's
really.
fine.
Mm.
But at the meantime, what I will do is I'll work on those epics, but it's on a Word document or something.
Hmm.
So I'll just write everything that I feel that should be included as a story, and then I'll just forward that to you, and then you can add it and
Yep,
you show
that
us
works
how
too.
it's done. Okay, does that
That
sound
works
good?
too. Yep.
Okay.
So I'll pull. I wish you could do do all the task stuff while it's still on the planning phase, or on the backlog. But for some reason, it's forcing you to have it in a sprint before you can start planning it. Which technically that's true, but no one ever really does it that way. Okay.
Okay, so let's end here, and then tomorrow we'll just have a quick meetup on the stories, how we should break down the stories and things.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
That works for me.
Okay, cool. So it's okay. Aaron just dropped out, I think. Okay.
Okay. So see you guys. Is 8:30 a better time?
Just on Thursdays,
Just
8:30. Yeah, but tomorrow
Okay.
7:30 is fine for me.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Nice seeing you. I don't know how to pronounce your name. How do you pronounce it?
Anuja.
Anuja?
Yeah.
Anuja.
Are you going to be participating as well? Do you want me to add you to the Scrum board?
Yeah, actually, this is something really new because I've worked on target process. I've worked on the agile methodology in my previous project.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a completely new thing because target, I've worked with user stories, creating user stories, bringing them into tasks, and then also creating test cases for those. But that was with target process. This is completely new for me as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Is target?
Don't even look at me. I'm just the one you call when something.
We use Jira at work, so that's the one I'm most familiar with, Jira. But it's not a free offering, and I was just looking for a free offering, so that's why we chose this one.
Okay, cool. So let's get back together at 7:30 tomorrow. I'll send a reminder for everybody.
Sounds good. I'm just looking at all those tabs you have open, Shellee.
Yeah, and I think I need to play around with it.
Yeah, that is. You mean my browser tabs? Nothing. Yeah. I have so many open at work that people were trying to play browser tab Scrabble because, like, you'll see part of a word. You'll see part of a word here, part of a word there, a letter here, and they were trying to make words out of the different browser tabs I have over.
Stay away from Lauren because she's like that with apps on her phone.
Yeah, they're like.
I swear to God, she had her LG G3 for like 9 months, and I finally showed her how to swipe an app off.
Yeah, I know how to close them.
Like everything she had ever opened in the last 3 months was still running.
Wow.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
I finally closed everything at work, but as you this was like, I closed it at noon today and I'm still like having a ton of stuff open. But yeah, they were literally trying to make words out of the browser tabs that I had open.
See, I always have problems with that because everybody's trying to run so damn much Flash and everything else.
Not anymore, right?
My system down.
Who's
oh my God, you go
Flash anymore?
You go, well, it's not so much that it's Flash, but I mean, there's so many pop-ups and this, that, and the other, and everything.
Yeah, it works.
It drags the system down.
Yeah.
They totally nix the pop-ups at work. We don't get pop-ups or anything or ads at work.
Yeah, because once I get beyond about 15 or 20 tabs, everything starts slowing down.
Yep.
We got about 5 minutes left, guys.
Okay. Anyway, have a good night, people. Yeah. I will play around with this tool a little bit more so I can instruct a little better.
Yeah. And Shellee, can you forward me those links that your boss sent you? I'll just check them out, see what the API looks like, and
yeah, absolutely. I'll send them. Let me do that now.
Okay, and Anuja, we have the daily study hall thing. I just keep it up while I'm working all the time. If I'm on, it just means I'm working on lessons. It can be starting at 7 a.m. It doesn't matter. And people can come and go, However, people are like, what's the next time? There is no time.
Yeah.
When you're working,
he's on pretty much daily, so.
Yeah, I'm out of work right now. In fact, they're putting in an order for an MRI. They were going to send me back to work, and they've decided not to. So now I'm waiting on that.
So nice seeing you for the first time.
Yeah.
And how do you pronounce your name
Scare
again?
you off and you're coming back. I hope the idea of a hackathon doesn't scare you off and you're coming back and going to help us out. That'll be
Sure.
Somebody was scared for the hackathon. I forget who it was that I was telling about. Oh, my friend at work. I was like, yes, I'm going to have him do a hackathon. He was like, oh my God. Like, it makes sense. It makes sense given the time constraint. Okay, so whenever I get that email, I will forward it over to you.
Okay, sounds good.
They might block it. I might never get it. So
For the hackathon, to make this thing feel like a real group project, we all have to order Chinese food at the same time.
you consider Panda Express Chinese food, I'm with you.
And drown ourselves in coffee, right?
Oh God!
I can't follow you with the coffee. I stopped coffee a year ago.
I will need to compensate for your Panda Express, and I'll go get some dim sum.
Okay.
Sounds good. All right, guys.
All right.
I'll see you guys tomorrow,
Yeah.
7:30.
All right.
All right.
Start thinking about the
7:30 or
dates for the
7:45?
hackathon. Seriously, start
We had
thinking about
bumped it to
dates.
Yeah.
7:45.
Yeah. Actually, would it be possible for you to put up the link to that Scrum thing that
Yep,
we were
I will.
Yeah, absolutely. When do you guys want to put that in chat for Anuja? Did I get it right?
Well,
Yeah.
another thing we might want to do, let's put it up in the web, in the, oh shoot, any particular channel for everybody else? Or
We're still web hall meeting
Yeah.
unless we want to have another
yeah, that'll work.
This last link is a open source planning tool. It's like the iceScrum tool, but it's a tool that you install on a server. And since, he's like, it's an awesome tool. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but somebody has to run a server and I'm just not with it right now. I can't deal with it right now. This is Brendan. Oh, joy. Your email, Brendan, let's see if I remember this correct.
Anuja, you have a
Did I
direct.
get it right?
You got it.
Oh, good. That's purely based upon remembering how it looked when I spelt it on screen. Okay.
That's good.
When I saw it on screen. Okay. All right.
Okay. Cool. So
I gotta sleep. Sorry.
let's reconvene tomorrow, 7:30.
All right, 7:30.
Okay. Cool. See you guys.
We'll try to keep it time boxed to 15
Yes.
minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
15.